In this session, we will be reviewing the check-in screen. Check-in is found toward the top left of the club system screen. Clicking on check-in, it does give us a few options as to which check-in mode we would like to be on, starting with the first option, which is called unattended mode. A brief description, it says here, unattended check-in automatically records the visit when a member account is displayed. Clicking on unattended check-in, pulling up the customer at the top of the screen, either by name, account number, email, or phone number. Once the customer account is brought up on the screen, they're automatically checked in at this time. So this would also be the same if a member scans their card. If there's nothing wrong with the account, they would be automatically checked in at that time without any further action, such as having to click a check-in button. The second mode of check-in that we see here is called attended check-in. Attended check-in allows you to look up your customer by account number, last name, email address, or phone number. Searching by last name and selecting the customer from the name list that appears. When the customer is selected and brought up on the screen, they are not checked in at this time. You would have to click the check-in button at the top left-hand corner to actually check the customer in and record their visit. Looking at the check-in screen itself, we notice the information that is brought up for the member, such as their name, address, contact telephone numbers. We even see information such as what type of a membership they have, when they joined the facility, when their membership is set to expire, when their last visit was, etc. If the customer has any sort of an owing balance, we would be able to see that at the bottom portion. This customer in particular, however, has an actual credit balance. By seeing that negative $175, they actually have a credit balance, so they're not owing at this time. In addition to the other information that we see, we have a messages field. Any messages that are typed into the messages portion of the customer account will show here on the check-in screen if they had any. We have an alert section. If some special alert or code had been set to the account and was bringing that to our attention, we would be able to see that in the section here called alerts. There is a series check-in portion here as well. If the customer did have any series attached to their account, such as personal training sessions, things of that sort, you would be able to see those specifically in this section if the member did have any attached to their account. And there is a special check-in area for those specific sessions so that those session visits can be deducted from their account. There is another area here called Today's Classes, where if you do have a class schedule inputted into your system, you would be able to see what classes are available today here on the check-in screen. And you would be able to check your member into one of the classes that appear here. At the very bottom of our check-in screen, we have an icon here called Upload Photo. The system is capable of taking photos, uploading photo to a member account so that shows on their profile when they are brought up on the check-in screen. It requires just a little bit of setup, and feel free to contact Club Systems customer service to speak to a technician as to what would need to be done in order for that to be a function that you can use at your facility. But there is definitely capability of hooking up a webcam, taking member photos, and then have those photos appear when the accounts pull up on the screen. The second icon we see is called Receive Payment. If your check-in computer is also connected to a cash drawer or register, you can receive payment in from that customer as well. If they're checking in and maybe have a past due balance that they want to pay, or maybe wanting to pay ahead on their account, you can click on Receive Payment to take a payment from that customer. Depending on the amount that's being given, and the pay method that they're using, you would just put that amount under the appropriate pay method field. We would type in our employee user password, just notating that we were the ones that processed this transaction, and then we would click Finish to complete the transaction. View Transactions is also here, where we can click on this icon to be able to pull up a history of transactions for this particular member. Whether the customer has a question on a recent charge that they've noticed, or if they're owing a balance and we're needing to explain to them why the balance amount is what it is, you can pull up their View Transactions to see all of their transactions. And on this particular transaction history, you will not only see point of sale transactions that have been processed and attached to the customer, but as well as the automated monthly dues, charges, as well as any declines associated with that will show for you here on the transaction history. Keep in mind, for your point of sale transactions, there's not much detail to these particular transactions, but we do know it was processed through point of sale, because under the description column, all of those transactions are noted as POS, or point of sale. And then to the left of POS, we see what type of a transaction it was that was processed through point of sale, whether it was a sale or a payment, or if a refund was processed, those would be listed as a credit. But we don't see much more detail as to the specifics of that transaction. If you are needing to see the detail of that transaction, feel free to click on one of the receipt numbers that you see under the invoice number column. Those will be highlighted for you in blue. And if you needed to open up that receipt to see exactly what was on that receipt, you can click on the receipt number and have that transaction open up, where you can see the details of what was purchased, etc., on that particular date. So that is the customer's transaction history or View Transactions area. Our next icon is called Change Barcode. Change Barcode is used to change the membership account number for this particular member. So if somebody has lost their key tag or scan card for the facility, and you as the employee are having to issue them a new one, this is where you can update their card number in the system. So clicking on Change Barcode, their original scan number, key tag number is going to show up for you here. You would simply just type in the new account number in the field below and click Next, and this customer would now be saved in the system under that new key tag number, and that will be their new account number in the system. Member Visits is also available here, where you can click on this icon to see previous check-ins for this member, whether you as the employee are just needing to look at this history for verification purposes, or even if the member themselves is requesting a copy of their visits for, work or insurance purposes. Sometimes that is requested. This is a printable report where you'd be able to print off a history of their check-ins if that's what they're requesting at that time. Today's visits is also listed here, where you can click on this particular icon to view the visits as a whole for the facility as of right now. So if you want to see all the check-ins that you've had so far for this morning or for the day, you can click on today's visits at any point and be able to see everyone that's checked in thus far in the system. Lockers is also here for those facilities that have maybe daily use lockers, first come, first serve lockers. You can click on this lockers icon and be able to see what's open and available. If this member in particular is requesting a locker, you can see what's open and be able to click the green check mark, just notating that that one is now being used and reserved by this particular person. Linked accounts is next. Clicking on linked accounts, this would show us any sub-accounts or any other members that are linked to this particular person in the system. You would be able to see those members' names and account numbers on this particular area. View notes would show us any notes that have been made on this particular member's account. And post notes will allow you to post a new note on the member account. If they were checking in and maybe you had a conversation with them and you would just wanted to notate something that they had mentioned on their account, you can come to this area to post a note that will be stored permanently on their account and that you'll be able to review at a later time. Change form is also an option that we have at the bottom of the screen. And change form ties into the XCapture and online change forms that we have there as well. This is more of an electronic change form versus your paper change forms, such as the forms that you use for processing cancellation requests, freeze or hold requests, or billing information updates. If you have chosen to implement the online change forms and have set those up in your system, you will be able to also access the change form from this check-in screen as well as XCapture. So clicking on change form, up at the top, the employee that's assisting the member with this form would type in their employee password at the top. And then the show drop-down menu, you would just select the change form that you would like to bring up right now for this customer. And then being that we're on this customer check-in screen, it's going to bring over all of their information under the personal information section. So anything that's currently set up on their account will automatically be brought into these fields for you. And then under the terms and conditions section is where you would set up all the stipulations for this change. There is going to be an area for the actual terms and conditions pertaining to this change will be listed where the member can check off that they agree to those terms and conditions. And finally, down here at the bottom is where we can capture the customer signature and hit continue to complete that form. Once the form is completed, they will automatically be sent a copy to the customer email address that's on file, as well as those changes automatically get done on the customer account. So that is the change form area. If your facility is utilizing those, you have quick access to them from this check-in screen as well as XCapture. Edit account is the last icon that we see, and this is just a shortcut to the modify account area, where if we are needing to make modifications to the actual customer account itself, it is a shortcut to that particular area. In addition to all of the icons that we have available on our check-in screen, you will notice from time to time that different colors appear on this check-in screen depending on the issue that's going on with the customer account. So as of right now, this customer that we have on the screen is showing up as being green. So green is just indicating that there's no issue with the account, that this person is okay to be checked in, and you would be able to check them in at this time. Another color that you may see is the red screen. So the red screening is basically indicating that there's some sort of an issue on the member account. And those issues can range between a customer being expired, the customer is actually canceled in the system, they owe a balance. If an employee has gone into the customer account and changed their status code, that's another reason why somebody would red screen. And if you're needing to kind of figure out what the issue is, there are some clear indicators on this screen that will point out to you what the issue is. So the first thing that we're noticing here is that the expiration date field is highlighted in black, as well as the balance portion is highlighted in black, and it's just indicating and drawing our attention to these two areas to let us know this account is expired and they have an owing balance on their account, so that's why they're red screening. And then those two reasons are also reiterated under the alert section. We can see here that it's telling us the membership expired on September 15, 2013, and they also have a past due balance of $115.99. So when somebody red screens, you will have clear indicators that point out to you what the issue is with the account that needs to be addressed. Another color that you may see periodically is the yellow screen. If you see a yellow screen, you will also receive a message under alerts, and we see a yellow screen where The system is actually not recognizing the scan card that's being scanned or the account number that's being entered for searching. It tells us here under alerts there is no member with account number, and then it will list the account number that you attempted to look up. So that is what the yellow screen means, is that the system is not recognizing the account number that you're trying to bring up at this time. And then the fourth color that we'll see is the blue screen. Somebody that pulls up with a blue screen is indicating that they have a credit card that has expired on their account, and you'll see that under alerts. So those are the four primary colors that you'll see, is the red screen, the green screen, yellow, and blue. In addition to those four colors that we have, you do have some customization that you can do when it comes to your check-in colors. Now, those four colors will always, show for those reasons that we talked about previously. Now, where the customization comes in is under Setup. And at the very bottom of the section, you do have an area that's called Check-in Colors. So we do give you a few more options here for your check-in colors, and these are the options. We have brown, gray, orange, pink, and purple. So you can have these colors show up for different sorts of reasons. For example, if you want a certain membership type, maybe it's a special membership type and you want to be alerted as these members check in, you can have them set to a specific color, and that way those types of members that check in are always showing up as that color screen. You also can do that for your different member groups. Member groups is just another way of categorizing members, such as if they're part of maybe a special corporate account or business account or a military member. You can set up a certain group of members to check in under a certain color. And finally, the last option that you have for using these special colors are members that are set to a specific status code. Maybe there's an update that you need to do on each member account, and as they come in, you want them to be, stopped at the front desk so you can do that update with them. Well, if you go to their account and change their status code to that particular code, maybe need to update billing, and those members are all checking in as pink, then your employee will know, okay, this person is checking in under a pink screen. I need to have them do an updated billing form or something to that effect. So those are just some of the different customizations that you can do pertaining to our check-in colors. This is optional. You do not have to use this unless you have a need for it. Otherwise, the regular four primary colors of red, green, yellow, and blue will always appear for you. In addition to the check-in screen itself, we do have some reports that tie along with check-in. So going to our wizards and going to the first option, which is called Main Reports Wizard, and looking specifically at this top third section titled Attendance Reports. This is where you can go and run attendance reports for different things, whether it's member type visits, member group visits, or just individual visits. Attendance summary. There's various reports that can be ran in this section pertaining to your member check-ins. Going back to the check-in screen, we also have a Kids Zone available here for checking in. If your facility does have some sort of a child care area and you would like to utilize the check-in screen for the children that are being cared for, you can utilize the Kids Zone. So for the Kids Zone to be used, basically the child themselves would have to be a link on their parent's account. That way we have a way of, actually checking them into the Kids Zone. So once the child is checked in here, there's also on that child account where you can set up a password as well for security purposes, that when they're being checked out, the person doing the checking out of the child would have to give the password that has been set for verification purposes. But here you'd be able to see all the names of all the children that are currently checked out, and as they leave, those names would disappear, so on and so forth. So if you do have a child care area and would like to utilize the check-in screen for that area as well, we do have this in place for that purpose. And then finally, the last option that we have under the check-in mode is what's called a self-check-in. And this is more so used for those facilities that have a front desk where maybe employees are not stationed there. If the members kind of just come in and help themselves and check themselves in, you can have the computer set up on the self-check-in mode, and this would just require that the customer either scan their card, or they can type in their card number here and hit go, or do it that way, and you would still get a red screen if there's an issue, along with the check-in sounds that can be set up under the setup section. If you do set a check-in sound for a bad check-in, that's a sound that you can hear. So if an employee's on the floor and hear that sound, they know that there's an issue at the check-in desk and can go and see what's going on. But this mode is more so for a self-help check-in where no employees are stationed at the front for checking in. Okay, that concludes our review on the check-in screen. Thank you.